Hi everyone, welcome to another Ascending Tribe weekly Wednesday workshop. We have an incredible speaker here talking about the circadian rhythm and how to raise your vibration, and it is Angel Angelov. If you'd like to give yourself a little intro and then take it away.
Blessings. Thank you so much. Appreciate to be here in this time in reality with you two beautiful souls and whoever else is on. 28 years old. I study biomechanics. I'm into the metaphysics, understanding how it trickles down to the physical reality and how your manifestations are created through your own internal being and your compass. So been studying circadian rhythms for last 5 years. It's led me to a greater understanding of your electrical battery and how well it can function to its optimal level. But the 3D reality keeps us in a certain vibration as we know it, with artificial light and everything else to be considered with that. So those are things kind of I wanted to discuss about a little bit more, how to increase your vibration by simply being in synchronization with the biology of your blueprint and nature's biology. So we are nature, existing in nature. That's a fundamental thing to understand. We're not separate. Just because we're human beings, that doesn't mean we don't need nature. So nature is fundamental to our growth, to our health, and to our vitality, really. So I started picking up nature more so. Always been in nature. I was adopted at a young age from the Mediterranean area, flew over to Minnesota. Like I said, went to Seattle, went to Oklahoma, and then California now. So it's been a journey to get here. Exciting journey. The tribulations have been definitely worth it. Meeting beautiful souls on my way has been a blessing. Knowing that I'm not the only one out here existing, and there's other beautiful souls as God planned for to be spread out on the globe, so we can affect, the rest of the population. So a little bit about the circadian function as we know it. If we were to remove artificial light, we would be in synchronization with nature. But as technology had increased in just the last couple of years tremendously, we noticed that our biology's also changed. So in terms of that, we know that most humans, if 350 million people in America have a cell phone 24/7. I call it device is vice. So it's really a vice to hold you in a certain vibration, certain electrical, output, input. One thing I started incorporating in just the last 5 years is being more coherent to my sleep schedule and what kind of light I'm surrounded by. So light on the spectrum, we're trying to receive blue wavelengths in the morning. That's what gets our circadian rhythm in check, or gets it started in the morning. So the importance of going outside right away when you wake up. Let's say you wake up at 6 a.m. The first thing you should do is really put your shoes on and go outside for 5 to 10 minutes. I say a little longer because light takes about 10 minutes to hit your skin. So a speed of light is 1,000 miles an hour. To be considered, it takes roughly about 10 minutes before it actually starts synthesizing. So serotonin to melatonin production is critical in our biology. We're no different. Humans just think that we can just turn on, our kitchen light at 10 o'clock at night and it has no adverse effects. Well, we don't talk about that as much in the health field. Professionals, doctors, specifically, and we try to focus on dealing with the root problem with a Band-Aid. So the key is to get to the root problem and issue and start there. So if your biology is not synchronized to nature, if you're going to bed irregularly on a daily basis, your body doesn't know when it's going to get sleep and when it's waking up. So the wake state and going to bed is very important. So what I've started to increment is going to bed around 9:30 for me is kind of the time for me to wrap it up and start heading to bed. Um, and I am only strictly under warm light. So what warm light does is it's a short wavelength, and it tells your peripheral that you're under the sun's rays still to a certain degree. So what that means is that when you turn on a candle, your peripheral, your eye, your retinas will immediately start dilating into the warm light, which is a short wavelength you want to be at nighttime. It's very important to be at night at short wavelengths, because if you are turning the light on at 10 o'clock at night, most of the bulbs nowadays are long wavelengths, which are artificial. So what that means is that it turns on your serotonin production. So our goal is to increase our melatonin production at night and increase our serotonin production during the day. So the outlook of how that would look is simply, like I said, get outside in the morning right away, synchronize, synthesize with the sun's rays, the sun spectrum. If we can only see 1 to 2% of the sun's spectrum, just imagine how much more information out there is for us to attain. So my routine will simply look like get out for 10 minutes. And throughout the day, you want to focus on not being out in the sun the whole entire day, but getting out there, let's say from every couple hours, I try to go back outside and give about 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight back on my skin. So that kind of keeps me on that routine base with the sun's rays. So how that looks like is if your body does not secrete blue light in the morning, which is fine. It's important. That's how you initially start turning your serotonin to melatonin production. So if we're not turning on our serotonin to melatonin production, our body simply does not know what time of day it is in. So there's blue blocking glasses that are out there, as you guys know. That's a great way to utilize it. If you're on a computer at nighttime, throws a filter, and so that way you're not secreting serotonin to melatonin production. So the understanding of this is that at nighttime, you're repairing, right? You're repairing your hormones, you're repairing your DNA, you're repairing literally everything, right? So if we're not repairing at night, we're not repairing during the day. So imagine your battery plugged in. Let's consider your cell phone being the battery. You fully charge it, right? And throughout your lifetime, this battery starts losing charge. So electrical charge being specific, we're chemical and electrical beings. So we got to learn how to be more electrical and then chemical. So the foods are going to directly affect your chemistry, and it's going to reflect your biology and physiology. And the people, places, and things are going to match that vibration based off what you put in your system, what you watch, etc. So if you want to raise your vibration, get with synchronization. So a simple planes flying through here. A simple hack, I call it biohacking because I love biohacking my biology. I want to understand my biology before I can, fully function as an organism down here. Getting in a routine-based sleep time is critical. Let's say you go to bed at 9, you wake up at 6. That should be a systematic order, just like brushing your teeth. But if you're, having a busy life, schedules, business, all of that can really construe your sleep cycle, and anxiety and stress come and accumulate because of the fact that we're not staying on track. So we need to synchronize. I try to synchronize to the millisecond, almost to the minutes of the sun's rays. Soon as as soon as sun is down, all of my LED electronics are removed. They're either on a filter or turned off. So most human beings have Wi-Fi routers at home too as well. So you notice those little lights that beam through those routers? Your peripheral is scanning for blue light after sun is down. So imagine everything being a vortex. Your peripheral, when it scans the room, apartment, house, outside, wherever you're going, subconsciously or consciously, your peripheral is pulling blue light. It is thinking it's time to wake up at 7 o'clock at night. And now you're secreting serotonin when you should be secreting melatonin production. So this is a key fundamental understanding. So, you know, going to classes, school, functions, all of that, they understood that long wavelengths, blue light in the morning is okay because it wakes up the students. But the problem with that is that the kids are not getting sun exposure throughout the day. So it's only strictly keeping them awake and almost like in a zombie state. So at the point of that, they're secreting so much serotonin at night, they simply cannot fall asleep. So we need to get into the rhythm. So it's called biorhythm, right? So you notice that your mitochondria weakens. When your mitochondria weakens, now you can't ward off diseases. You have lethargic energy, you have fogginess, you have anxiety, stress. So where that comes in play is mineral dysfunction too as well. So if you're not getting in that repetitive state at nighttime, you're secreting a lot of minerals at nighttime when you don't need to be secreting a lot of minerals. So mineral function is very important to understand too as well. So simple way of understanding this is that I like to go out to nature. I went out north of California out here, and there was no blue light. There's no LED bulbs, and the street lights would be LED bulbs, artificial lights. There was none of that. So my eyes were able to rest and digest. So they were able to start going back into rhythm. But then what happened was there was a car that drove up, you know, randomly those lights hit my eyes, and immediately my brain started secreting serotonin. And boom, at 8 o'clock, I'm starting to wake up. You can literally feel the fluid secreting through the eyelids. That's how dilated I became to my physiology. And the more sensitive you become with yourself, the more sensitive you become with your environment. So that's a key component. So sensitivity is critical to your understanding of your own biology, and empathy comes in play. So you can more empathize with other people too as well. So I noticed that when I was not in rhythm, all these stressors were happening. I was not able to reset, get into parasympathetic at nighttime. It's called rest and digest. During the times of awakening, you're in sympathetic states, which is stress. So when light hits your eyes in the morning, cortisol floods your system. So that's okay. We're biologically supposed to be stress-induced organisms. But the problem with that is that we're chronically stressed out. We're not stressed out for this time frame. We're stressed out for this time frame. So chronic means this. So imagine a deer being chased by a lion. They're in that flight stress for about 20 seconds. Deer either gets hunted or caught or runs away, right? But that's only 20 seconds of that chase, right? Where human beings are going against the biology is that we're in that chronic state inflammation through, sorry, planes coming through. Chronic chronic inflammation for 20, 30 years because our biology is not in synchronization with the flow of nature, right? So this is a key component to understand from a metaphysical understanding. Lower vibrational extraterrestrials are using LED lights to demolish our biorhythms. So it's a fundamental to understand. So the more you clear your parasites, your entities, whatever you want to kill it within yourself, removing of anything that is lesser than you are in your vessel, that's the key, the first fundamental to controlling your temple. Let me make that a little bit more a simpler explanation of that. If we're not clearing our energies and we're absorbing other people's energies, blah 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 blah, who do you think that programming of turning your light on at 10 o'clock at night is probably a parasite, or it's probably something your lower self keeping you in that lower state. So I have a roomie, and he blasted lights at 10 o'clock at night because he just doesn't understand biorhythm. So that already set me back 6 to 8 hours of inability to sleep. Most people think they're sleeping really deeply, or soundly, they're not. So if we can control the lights at night, we can control our mitochondria. Our mitochondria is our powerhouse. So that is what wards off and fights off everything. So it's a critical thing to understand, is that you control the lights, you control your health, you control the food you eat, you control your health. So the structural basis of your physiology needs to be understood. Now, you could be eating really healthy, but if you just don't understand that your circadian rhythms need to be in check every day with rhythms, you're simply not going to see those results that you're looking for, because you're just fighting so much against the grain. You're going so much against the grain, with the light being essence to your health, if you want to say so. Your retinas, from a serotonin to melatonin production, we want to start getting into that rhythm at nighttime. When the sun goes down, put a filter on your phone. Make sure, if you have TVs or electronics, I don't have preferably TVs on. That's not my life. But if you do, turn off your TV 2 to 4 hours before bed. That's a great way to start accompanying the melatonin production at night. That it's called the sleep hormone. If we're not secreting melatonin is the strongest antioxidant we have in our system. And it's what fights everything at nighttime. If we're not secreting melatonin at nighttime, we're not fighting things off. So considering with what's going on with 5G, with all the foods, the air being sprayed, you need to learn how to fight these things by being a good mechanist, a good mechanist of your own function. So I started realizing that it made me happier. I had more energy, I had less stress, I had less anxiety. All these different attributes to my health lessened. All these negative attributes lessened because of the fact I'm getting into rhythm and flow, right? So if we want to increase our vibration, we need to get into flow state with the biology of nature. So that's a key component to really understand. And as you know, your friends are on a different vibration, family, friends, people, places, and things can affect your vibration as we know it, right? So we're in space and gravity right now, currently in our reality. We just hit 0 point, which is grounding, right? But we're still spinning in space, right? Just because we're on Earth does not mean we're not in space, right? So these are things to also look at, like the lower self getting your body from lower self to higher self is a spectrum of things you need to be doing on a daily basis to get to your higher self. Your higher self is going to make the decisions when you get there. It's going to start overriding the lower self. The lower self is trying to keep you in the lower states of consciousness. The higher self is trying to keep you in the higher states of consciousness. The more you align, the more everything comes to you easier in life. So the more you align with yourself, everything just comes like this. It's called alchemy, right? Everything flows to you. But they've understood if we can cause disruption in chaos, our vibrations are going to simply be messed up. So simply having partners that are conscious with you are very important. I simply turned fluorescent bulbs out of any of my rooms, and just because let's say my roomie comes home and he goes into his old ways of turning the light on at nighttime, I combated that by just taking the bulbs out that he can't turn on. So those are ways to combat, people that are unconscious about the things you know. So you have to be understanding that your family, your friends, and them may not understand what you understand. And so how do you hold a vibration high for them to come to you? So that's one way. For an example, you can get electromagnetic. I think it's electromagnetic. There's also Midwest therapy. Getting bulbs from them, they're like $10. Put them into your lighting sources, and that will help you get more ambient light, more warm light, and it'll cause your melatonin to start secreting at nighttime. It's a very important thing to do, considering the fact health is wealth. Seeing it in San Diego, I still wonder why people they look so sick, and I'm like, why are they so sick, And these people simply are 40, 50, and 60, ages of 40, 50, and 60, and they simply have been misled and misfed. So for all these years, these people are now getting stuck to the pharmaceuticals, and that's all they know. So the new wave of the spiritual metaphysical, the new phase is health is wealth, and people are starting to go inward instead of outward as an expression to attract the manifestations they want, the ultimate desires. So when I started running on my higher self, as far as keeping my sexual energy, that is information that also helps me, stay in higher states of consciousness to help me combat lower states of consciousness. You simply can't help lower states of consciousness if you're matching their vibration, right? So I think that from a point of view, if we can get into a flow and rhythm state with your biology, you're going to see your health skyrocket. You're going to feel significantly better every morning you wake up, because now you're following the states of nature, and your vibration is simply going to get higher and higher and higher because it's been so suppressed over the years. So I'm 28. I just ran into this information about really just 5 years ago. So considering, from the teen years to all the way to 23, those times were all under LED lights, cell phones, so basically they were stripping me of my melatonin production. And melatonin is very underlooked subject. And doctors simply know, like, if you control light, you can fight off and ward off any cancerous diseases. So these are things that need to be discussed and talked about in the spiritual community, because a lot of people are doing the shadow work, a lot of people are doing the cleansing and purifying. But what about the light? We're not simply observing the light and how that affects our physiology. So light is information. So sunlight hit the apple on the tree, now you're eating it, now you're receiving that information, correct? So LED lights misconstrues your way of thinking and receiving information. It is simply not real information because it's artificial. So if we're sitting under LED lights, subconsciously, you're going to be stressed out and you're not going to know what stressed you out. Try it out for a week. Try the LED light infused throughout the week, and then try the warm light at nighttime. You'll notice that your anxiety will significantly lower. And I dominate the nervous system. So being a Gemini, I know what my gifts are as for what I was given. And this was a gift of knowing my nervous system freaks out when someone turns on the light at 10 o'clock at night. That tells me now I was in the flow of rhythm, but now I'm going out of flow of rhythm, taking myself out of flow in rhythm at 10 o'clock at night. So as you increase your vibration, it's harder to hold that vibration there because of the 3D reality that we're in. So you have to be more observant. You have to be the observer more so than what you were from last week, right? So that's a key fundamental checkpoint to understand. As you increase your vibration, it requires for you to do more of that same thing. So that's one thing I've really noticed, that REM pockets, you have 4 REM cycles. Most people are really induced in the first or second sleep cycle. They're not getting into the third and fourth cycle. That's when we're ultimately repairing our DNA. We're secreting or repairing hormones, and that's been the game and focus with this material world with the LEDs, is to cause disturbance in our sleep. And if we can't get full rest at night, we have drowsiness, we're dragging our feet throughout the day, we're sluggish, and our batteries ultimately are not working at its optimal function, which is your mitochondria. That's ADP to ADP. That's conversion of energy production. So easy ways to biohack that is being under red light therapy devices. That's a great way to start inducing that red light at night, and helping skin, nails, hair, all of those things to better health too as well. Being at nighttime, you'll notice that your eyes will start dilating and oscillating almost like in space and time and reality. And that's when the reprogramming phase starts. So I realized too as well that entities love you when you get out of flow and rhythm. It's simply someone has lower energy, someone is feeling not so good, you run into them, and now, simply you're there, perfect timing for them to give that negative energy over to you. So what I'm trying to say is that the more fortified you are with your vessel, your temple, the more or less you're going to absorb these energies. The more you're electrical, the more or less you're going to absorb other people's energies as well. It's simply because we're not chemical and electrical beings that we were back in the day. We're eating dehydrated foods. We're not getting into rhythm. We're secreting too much sexual energy. We're not learning its displacement and learning how to place that sexual energy and use it for your manifestations. And just this COVID time, 80% of the 80%, it said that 80% of people are looking at explicit material. So the metaphysical understanding right now is to reduce your sexual energy. That's the most vital essence that you have. That is spirit itself in its form. So it's called life, you know? So every time we secrete, we remove that essence out of our body. So the only time you really should be secreting if you're procreating. Otherwise, tantra with your partner is the better way or alternative. But how that relates to your circadian rhythm function is your sexual energy also plays a role in your circadian rhythm function too. That's vitality. So when you reserve and preserve and fossilize what you have, you're fossilizing your battery, which is critical to understand. But when light, cerebral spinal fluid goes up and down your spine, so this fluid like is moving from your brain all the way down to your sacrum. And we're pumping about 400 to 600 milliliters a day up and down the spine. So when you turn on the light at 10 o'clock at night, you disrupt the flow of this fluid. Because what it's doing, it's bringing this fluid, sexual energy, and in places that need healing. Your sexual energy is healing. So one thing I learned through failure, is I realized when my sexual energy is mostly residing in my brain. When I turn on the light at 10 o'clock, I'm killing the essence of what this sexual energy is there to do for, is to heal my brain chemistry. And it's something to talk about in the next podcast or next meeting. But specifically, if you're in the cities, it's harder and harder and harder to live homeostasis. So we need to be gearing ourselves for, blue blocking glasses and simply red light therapy at nighttime. So stress is okay for this much time, but when it's chronic, that's when issues become problems. So does that help a little bit, understanding how light can affect your health either in a positive way or a negative way?
Yeah, this has been so helpful. I have a few questions about candlelight.
Sure.
So obviously me and you spoke about this topic previously, and actually since you educated me quite a bit, I've been a lot more conscious about when I'm using my phone at night and how I'm using lights at night. And obviously I'm not as probably disciplined as you are, but I'm becoming a lot more aware and a lot more conscious of it. But at nighttime, I've instead of using the lights, I've started using candlelight. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me put this in play too. People are like, "Oh, I can't see at night." No, because you've been stuck on the phone for the last 18 hours. Your eyes have dilated to that blue screen. So now when you're trying to look for things in the dark, you're like, "Oh, I can't find anything in the dark. Ah, God, screw these candles. I need to turn on the light." That's something in your system trying to keep you back into lower vibration. Does that make sense?
Yes,
So
completely.
candles are a beautiful way to restore health, to restore serotonin to melatonin production. It's a journey. You know, healing is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight, as much as I like to think so. Even though I try to really quantum leap in my understanding here now in my current reality, what can I change right now for better health, better wealth, right? So fundamentally, I'm like, boom, lights. But you'll just notice when you start doing these things, how many people are not doing these simple things around you, and they're just stress balls. They're just stress balls, and they go to the therapist and they're like, I'm stressed out, I'm stressed out, I'm stressed out. Well, no matter how much you're talking to this therapist, all you're doing is cycling information back and forth, and it's causing stagnation because you're simply not taking responsibility for your health.
Completely.
So we have to mitigate as best as possible down here with what they're pushing onto us in this 3D reality. And we have to be observing our own selves and how things affect us, right? So it's been a big part of my journey, and helping my friends to realize too as well, how much light affects your physiology. And it's been beautiful. It's a ripple effect. My friend in Oklahoma, I got him here to get candles at nighttime. What you'll notice that is, if you have friendship relationships, these friends that aren't spiritually invested in themselves, their darkness will use their vessel to come to disrupt your vibration. So his friends come home or come to his place and they're like, why do you have all these candles? And they start putting LED lights everywhere. Boom, your circadian rhythms, once it sees LED light in your peripheral, you literally go 8-10 hours backwards. So that is how sensitive of a game we're playing down here. So the key is to get sensitive with yourself. Sensitivity is power, like it's power, and we've ran so much from being sensitive, but all of that has caused us to be more regressed with ourselves. So I've just learned that, okay, I'm sensitive. Okay, that's a power. Let's learn how to be more sensitive with my environment, and how your environment shapes your physiology as well. So you'll notice your eyes will start looking better, more clear. Your skin will look better and more clear. Your hair will start growing thicker and stronger. You'll think clearer, smarter, faster. And these are simply things that they don't want us to be in that state of, right? So it's like these people that walk around with these face masks, and I'm not walking around with a face mask. They think I'm the one that's sick. I'm the one that's going to get them sick. It's so silly. So it's like the programming is real. A silly little mask is simply not going to cure your health. Right. And so that's been quite of a journey too out here in San Diego. But get in touch with yourself at nighttime by simply, I tune myself out with my tuning bowl or my forks. Is a great way to kind of bring your stress down, be in warm lighting, have a cup of tea. That should be a routine for a week, and you will notice if you have weight issues, skin problems, all of these things will start going away.
From what time? Can I just say from what time?
Give it 30 days.
But I mean, like, what time in the evening? So like 8 p.m. or not? Or are you saying when the sun goes down, innit?
Yeah, I'm a little more perfectionist. I like to be like I like to be like, soon as the sun goes down, I replicate that same wavelength by turning on a candle. So sun goes down here around 5:30, 6:30 ish. I think 5:30, 6:30 here. So if you worked through morning to day to nighttime to get in rhythm. And now you're like, oh, I'm going to get onto the LED screen. Boom, there goes your biology for the day. And that's why these devices are like vices. You know, they're great tools, but we have to learn to how to use them as tools, not how this phone is in our bioenergetic field within 2 or 3 feet, and it's literally eating at your battery.
Yeah.
So
I really
these
just want
are,
to open up the floor as well, just to other questions, because I think a few other people have some questions. So if you want to just come off mute and you can ask Angel directly.
beautiful. Someone referred to Chaga tea as part of, I wish I could, where can I see that messages?
Oh, yeah.
Preferably.
Do you recommend Chaga tea for melatonin?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
will a salt lamp on an evening be of any benefit?
Yes, it pumps out negative ions. Negative ions are critical to our system because we're being pumped with positive ions. That's inflammation 24/7. Like I said, it's okay for this much time of the day, but not for this much time throughout the day. So we have to use these tools and utilize these tools they give us. And that's connecting with people, you know, face to face from 3,000 miles. But it's not to keep your phone next to your pillow, right? So you'll notice when you start developing these skills, that your body is still going to be in that wakeful state is because it's simply so out of touch. You have to go through that resistance to get to homeostasis, back in rhythm. So even if you're up till 12 o'clock at night, don't turn on your cell phone. You know,
What
it'll
is
take
therapy?
red light is it's called photobiomodulation. So basically what it does is that it strengthens your capillaries, meaningly your mitochondria. And red light therapy, I did that for about 1.5 years in Seattle, and literally I was glowing. So a great way to be under that light was simply red light therapy. I won't go into the bits of information in there too much, but red light therapy was used for collagen synthesis, protein synthesis. If you have scar tissue, calcification, all of those things will help. It's a tool to help you, aid you to remove these things. And it's been a tool kept away from us because of the serious healing abilities. So, of course, yeah, they would rather have you pop a pill, call it good, see you next week. So, another big form is magnesium. Magnesium has over 3,300 enzymatic functions. So, let's say you start getting in rhythm, okay, can't sleep, magnesium. That's going to help you fall asleep. That's going to relax the nervous system. It's going to help you get into that dream state quicker. So, I pump in, I'm not a doctor, I pump in about 1,500 to 2,500 milligrams of magnesium on a daily basis. Chloride and bicarbonates, hold on. Magnesium bicarbonate is the best magnesium form because it is absorbed readily, more easier than chloride, citrate. I don't recommend citrate. It's junk. It doesn't go into your cells. Chloride is chloride, magnesium chloride, and bicarbonates, magnesium bicarbonate. You can make that at home. I'll make a post about this. You can get it at a pharmaceutical store. Milk of magnesia. You take a little bit it's a diuretic, but it converts to bicarbonates when you mix it with carbonated water. So that's a great way to actually start replacing old cells with new cells every 30 days. That's what our biology is doing. Help it aid. You can aid that by simply doing that. I'll make a post about that today so everyone can see that for themselves and, you know, partake if they would like to. Helps with so many different things. So the goal is to do smart work than hard work, right? The Industrial Revolution was focused on hard work and diligence, but look at them and where they got to now. So we need to implement smart work, which is quantum leaping, right? So quantum leaping is simply knowing and bringing that information now in our current present reality and doing it now, right? So yeah, chloride's a great way to start getting magnesium in your system. If we don't have magnesium in our system, non-native EMFs, dehydrated foods, everything is stripping those minerals out of our system. So to consider that, calcium too. We need calcium for bone health. Most of the vegans stop drinking milk because of misinformative understanding. Some of those things that talk about calcium is getting stuck in the tissue and it's not going into the bone simply because we're not taking MK2, MK7, which is a transporter of calcium to the tissue, to the bone. So my joints, my whole entire physiology feels amazing. I've been supplementing with certain things the last couple of years, and my third eye, boom. So, you know,
let's see if anyone else has some more questions for you.
I had a question. Speaking to like getting to a proper sleep cycle, what would you recommend, or do you recommend the use of marijuana?
Okay, so that's a great question. Marijuana can be a great tool, but it can cause a dependent cofactor in that. So, and what happens is when you stop using it, now you're dependent to its aid of sleep, because that's the only way you've been able to fall asleep. Now, if you start to incorporate, I think it is a great tool. I still use it for spiritual reasons. Before bedtime, I don't prefer to smoke too much because I want to be fully awake and conscious when I'm dreaming, because I'm leaving my vessel, so I'm going into the quantum. I'm, extracting information and bringing it back. So it's a great way. You're protected and divinely guided 24/7. But I like to, you only need one or two hits. You don't need, a whole entire blunt, So just those receptors being able to attach, and now you can sleep a little better. Now, if you haven't incorporated magnesium, if you haven't incorporated, milk is a great alternative to help you sleep too. I warm up milk at nighttime. I drank warm milk as a child. There was significance. You're breaking down the enzymes and the sugars better. So a cup of warm milk will help you induce better sleep. Now think of if you can get into the third and fourth cycles of sleep. REM cycle, what that means is rapid eye movement. That's when you're in the fourth cycle and your eyes are shuddering, your eyelids are shuddering. That is when you're ultimately repairing your DNA. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
it does.
So, but we're not getting into that, third and fourth cycle. Okay, marijuana is a tool, but it's not the only tool. Like I said, magnesium is a great way to do that. And also a lot of people have misunderstood eating carbohydrates at nighttime, like a banana, a kiwi that has serotonin. That's gonna, and has tryptophan. That's gonna help you fall asleep better. So eat more carbohydrates at night, even though we've been told to not eat before bed. It's a false advertisement. If your body is starving and it's needing to repair,
we lost your video. Oh, there we go.
carbohydrates before bedtime, your insulin response will be beautiful. And it's just the reason why we're not sleeping fully and soundly is because we're either doing intermittent fasting, keto. We're simply removing carbohydrates out of our system. Sugar is your primary fuel source. If we remove the primary fuel source out of our system, it's going to have to secrete it from the liver. And that's where cortisol and adrenal response comes in play. So your insulin is very important to and partaking in your health too as well. So eat, 2 bananas, get some magnesium in bed, maybe a cup of milk, and see how that goes.
What about melatonin supplements? What do you feel about those, or do you recommend?
Now, melatonin supplements can be good, but also have a reverse effect, because you're simply, once again, you're not getting it from the natural state. And when you're forcing it through a supplement, that's when the issues come. So I would say even like a very low dosage, like 1 to 2 milligrams of melatonin at nighttime will help you, aid you there. But you don't want to become dependent to these things. That's the biggest and most important thing.
I have one other question. This will be my last question. Earlier you were talking about how our peripheral kind of like looks for blue light. It looks for LED lighting in the vicinity. So I was wondering if these lights only affect us if observed by the eye, or does it have any other effects to the body, like being under it? If you're already asleep and your eyes don't see it and somebody turns it on, is it like that it can be absorbed through the skin? Can it affect you any other ways?
Great question. You hit it right on the nail. Yes. Your skin is information as well too. So you're going to get away with it a little bit more, but you're still going to be affected. Now, your eyes are constantly scanning, like they're constantly looking, even if you're conscious or unconscious. So it goes to get conscious as best as possible, so you understand. Even 3 miles away, there could be an LED light, and your eyes can see more than 10 miles, right? Boom. It's literally that critical. So yes, your skin will absorb some of that blue light, but it wouldn't be such a big factor as if you were covering your eyes at night. So great question.
I appreciate your time, man.
Fasting, intermittent fasting effects on the bodies. Now, if you're doing if you're going through cleansing, detoxing, fine, but it should be a short term. It shouldn't be a long term. Why are you detoxing? Have you been eating McDonald's? Right? So if you've been eating healthy, you don't need to detox. Like I don't eat junk food. I don't eat any processed. I don't do those things. So there's no reason for me to be eating or to restrict my body from foods that are going to constantly help my thyroid function, which converts T3 to T4, which is a hormone. And that's basically telling your body you're metabolizing food. And the more food you eat, the more you're burning actually. The less food you eat, and when you intermittent fast and when you reintroduce food, that's when you gain fat, because your body is not responsive to burning calories. Now, someone that hasn't been, that has been eating junk food, that, yes, put them through the stress, put them through the cortisol, have them remove the, the detox phase, but your goal is to get out of that detox phase and accompany your metabolism, right? So you should, every morning, you should wake up in the morning and stabilize your glucose levels, your sugar levels, okay? Eat a breakfast. Every meal should be protein, fat, and carbohydrate. That's a balanced meal. Now, you go to work and you don't eat for 8 hours, you get hungry, you get tired and stressed out. It's because you're not regulating your blood sugar levels. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but there are actually recorded benefits to fasting. Like, I think that I know, I see exactly what you're saying, and I find that quite interesting, and just about stabilizing your body. But
Right.
I have actually gone on an elongated fast before, and it is actually, the thing is that your body actually has the ability to self-sustain itself and repair itself while in a fasted state, because obviously fasting is different from starvation, and you actually do go into a state of ketosis while on a fast, which actually promotes fat, you burning, fat burning, but I feel like it does definitely depend on what type of fasting you practice, and also not our bodies are quite unique in a way that not every single system will work for everyone, but there are recorded benefits to fasting, as like for example, it stimulating your human growth hormone, and like that's what,
HGH.
yeah, HGH. And
I totally agree with those statements. I do understand the ketosis state is burning fat, yes, but a person that doesn't have very much fat, is, what are they burning? It's like, you're right. It's like you can do that part, but it's gonna have a havoc on your system regardless, right? It's just like, how much havoc on the system do you want to endure to get to the state of detoxing? So, someone that, has more fat, has more, toxins, okay, yeah, they could go through that starvation. But for someone that needs to eat food and they've been starving themselves because of the fact that they think, intermittent fasting is the way to go, it's going to cause more havoc. So you're right. Epigenetics comes in play. You can heal without the body needing, an external substance. That's correct. You're constantly healing. Your body's constantly working for you. When you repair it, it's at nighttime the most. So you want to aid that, so much so. But
it's
your
exactly
point
what you said, though. Sorry to cut you. In the nighttime is when your body repairs, but in the nighttime you are actually in a fasted state, because all of your energy is going to repairing your body. So
that is correct.
Yeah.
So for me, in terms of for myself, is like, I've done the cleansing, the purifying, is for the last 5 years. So it wouldn't be necessarily something I need to continue doing, to remove calories. When you restrict your body from nutrients, that's where my body starts freaking out. But if I had excess, like I said, accumulated toxins through the foods and excessive, you don't need to continue. Someone that's already removed toxins, parasites, energies out of the system doesn't need to continue doing this long intermittent phase. They can start healing the metabolism. There's a great book, I'll post that too as well. It's called Heal Your Gut. And that's simply not, that's simply not restricting, but aiding. So, but you do make great points. And I've definitely fasted myself as well, you know, wrestled for 18 years. I had a cheese stick all day long, you know, so, but I was tired. I was dehydrated. I didn't wrestle the best, and I was cutting weight. So think of someone that's 175 pounds going to 152 pounds that doesn't have a lot of fat. That's restricting my ability to perform, right? So it depends on mesomorph, ectomorph, body types, yes, but we all have hair, skin, nails, collagen, ligaments, tendons, fascia. We're all very much the same, right? So, but ketosis is argumentatively, if you're only eating, let's say, meat has inflammation, and if you're not introducing carbohydrates in there, that causes problems, and that's another topic to talk about too. And I've done the ketone diet. I've even peed on the strips. Yes, I've hit ketosis state, but I was burnt out. So yes, you can refeed your body with carbohydrates on a weekly basis. That'll kind of help your system, you know, come back to its, you know, a little more alive. So yeah, I mean, it depends on what your goal really is. So are you trying to lose weight, detox, cleanse? What are you trying to do?
But that's the
Well,
thing is, I would definitely say that is, like you said, it completely depends on also what you're trying to achieve, and also the type of fasting you're doing, because there is a big difference between again being on a high fat diet, like a ketogenic diet, or actually being on a, like, are you trying to fast, and through fasting you're putting stress on your body, meaning by you're trying to go into a state of, well, starvation, or are you making sure that you are basically getting the right supplement? That it's more of, because fasting is actually different to starvation, and every single ancient culture actually has some form of fasting. The thing is that we actually eat, if you look at our dietary habits in our modern world, we actually eat more than we should, because it's, again, I agree exactly with everything that you've been saying about following your body, about making sure that you're getting the nutrients when you need it, and that, like, not just going on with anything. Like, if you feel like you need food in the middle of the night, eat something because your body's telling you something about that. Mm-hmm. But it is actually good to give your instead of seeing it as restrictive, it is actually good to sometimes, like, give your gut time
a break,
to
yeah,
repair,
totally.
or cleanse, because that's why, like, even for me, I'm not someone that I really like stick to any specific type of regimen when it comes to fasting. But sometimes what I've really noticed is that when let's say if I just take time, like do a fast for one day, it really helps, like, recalibrate my metabolism. Like, it is genuinely, and I make sure that in those periods that I am drinking, I'm consuming enough liquids, that again, I have a lot of supplements, and like herbal supplements as well. And there's a lot of like even alkaline fasts that you can do that are actually very,
yeah. And I think it's a great way to, like, remove fibrosis, calcification, you know, in the detox phase. That's what it should be for and
completely
stand for.
dependent on what works for you. But I don't think that it should be seen as like a fad or something that is only to be done as a way to lose weight, because it is definitely also a way that can also aid you. So yeah, but I do agree with what you're saying.
So, I mean, it's really, you know, you got to know you know thyself the best, you know, and in terms of that, it's like, you know, me, I've done the ketone diet. I've literally done everything in terms of health and wealth goals, because I've been in the health field for 10 years, but I've watched the body and how it responds by certain programs, diets, working with people, you know, clients, and how that has a reverse or adverse reaction. So I definitely agree. Like for me, when I fast, it gives me the credibility to be able to not digest food, but being able to use my body more so than when I'm eating and digesting, right? So it's a great way to let your organs relax. It's a great way to, focus on, like I focus on posture. Well, I can't eat a big breakfast and focus on posture because my body can't do two things at once, simply, right? So it's a great way for me to be like, okay, I'll skip breakfast for today and be able to pull my navel in my tummy and use it for other functions. So that's where I could see that. As far as you could do a hard cut, you could just like be like, you know what, I'm, like I said, I'm not eating shitty foods anymore, blah 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 blah. That's a hard cut, you know. So it just depends on your threshold and your willingness and your drive to get back to homeostasis and removal of toxins. I'm not saying there is one way ticket to it, but I'm looking at how we can reduce the amount of stress on the body in between that state. And I've worked with professional bodybuilders, I've watched them, they're on like 5% body fat, and boom, once they reintroduce sugar into their bloodstream, boom, they feel alive because they've been restricting it for so long, their body's needing it. And I've watched them literally fall to the ground because of the lack of sugar levels. So, sugar being the primary fuel source is what I'm getting at. We're told that sugar is bad for us, but that's not true. It's the alternatives that are in that product, with the colorings to the preservatives. Those are things that I would, stay away from. So, yeah, I'm sorry.
Say that again, Babs.
It's just that we're restricting sugar, and that's where havoc comes on the system. But I can understand the intermittent fasting. If you have more glycogen, okay, you have more sugar levels to work with, right? So that's what it is. It's like I don't have that much glycogen, so those are things to be considered, like
Angel,
fiber. Huh?
I have a question actually about my personal situation. My personal situation. I'm doing a juicing detox at the moment because I actually do have a lot of toxins and fat
Sure.
on my body.
Okay. I got 5 minutes, maybe a couple minutes.
Okay,
and then,
I'll try and just wrap this up real quick then. So like the last question. So is this essentially like, is this good or bad for me what I'm doing in terms of the fact that I'm trying to detox, 1, 2, I'm trying to reset my body, right, so that I can, because I have a tendency of eating maybe bad food sometimes. I don't like doing that. So I like to do a juice detox to reset my diet. But 3, also to obviously lose weight as well.
right. Now, juicing, it strips the fiber. So if you're trying to detox, you're removing fiber from juicing. If you're juicing 24/7, I wouldn't worry about that so much. But yeah, juicers strip fiber, so you need fiber to be able to, facilitate, the nutrients. So I do a lot of my stuff through smoothie support, so that doesn't strip the fiber. That's a great way to, like I said, remove fibrosis, calcification, inflammation. So it seems like that's where you are in that phase, is removal of those things. So yeah, you can make quick moves by just, pounding these smoothies down and removing these toxins that are in your system. But once you do that, the next phase would be incorporating, meals that are going to assimilate, right? And that's another topic to be talked about. But currently in your reality, you're doing a great job. Now, just consider, if you're doing more juicing, like I said, the fiber count and how much fiber you're getting. So the goal is to get elimination going, right? So enzymes are a great way to support that too as well. definitely enzymes, considering magnesium, all these different things. But yeah, does that help as far as?
Yeah, that's good. I know that you don't have a lot of time. I'll ask you off screen.
Yes.
Separate questions. I'll send you a message.
Could I quickly ask you just a question about because if you know anything about these supplements, one was like this supplement called Shilajit, and one was about monatomic gold, I think.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to I've been looking into like the benefits of them. I just wanted to know if you knew anything about
Yes,
them.
Shilajit, and yeah, they're both great. Keep using them. Yes. Minerals, grounding. Yeah, those are perfect. Those are Shilajit. Everyone should be taking Shilajit, to be honest. I mean, the benefits of those things are unreal. So we've been mineral deficient, considering acidosis, the culture, agriculture, farming lands. We simply are not getting minerals from the soil. So you have to get minerals elsewhere. So great job. Those are great ways to, incorporate minerals in your diet again.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time and all the questions. And I know that you have like a limited amount of time right now, but I have 70. Someone just said I have 70 questions.
Beautiful. How about you guys
next time.
Send whoever wants to get some information and guidance, send me a DM. Third Eye Decalcify is where you can find me. What Third Eye Decalcify? I'm in a rush.
I'll send it.
I wish I could presume longer on this talk, and I love you guys' energy. I hope it all helped out. I would love to continuously get on these live sessions with you guys and incorporate different topics and how that interconnects to our, physiology. So thank you so much for having me on. And it's beautiful to have people that are on the same wavelength or are looking for advice to ascend, to bring their vibration. And like I said, that light, if we can control light, we're the sorcerer's stone walking around, right? So think about that. Like the more light you carry is because of the light you manipulate at home. So think about that. So I've been like, we're light bodies, we're densified light. So we don't want to be stripping light from us when we don't need to. So serotonin to melatonin, fall asleep with the wake cycles with waking up with the sun, going to bed with the moon. Turn on the candle at night, stay away from electronics as best as possible, put a filter on the screen if you need to for work purposes. Turn your phones off, turn your your routers off at nighttime. Boom. That already eliminates so many non-native EMFs coming through, so you can get better sleep. So those are great ways to incorporate for 2021.
Thank you so much.
So I hope that helps you guys, and thank you for having me. I was a little nervous about how to spill my information out, so I appreciate the ability to communicate to you guys as clearly as possible. But yeah, thank you guys, and blessings.
Yeah, thank you so much. We'll definitely have you on soon again.
Blessings to all. Love you guys. Be safe. Keep your vibration strong.